Hi, hello everyone. Dawn Epting here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I wanted to come in the first week of this brand new year and talk from the topic, the only fight that you should ever fight. There's only one fight that you should ever fight in life, and hopefully at the end of this video, we'll be inspired to fight that fight so we can live our best life, not only this year, but for many years to come. Thank you guys so much. Feel free to hit the subscribe button underneath the video if you're watching on YouTube. But thank you for your comments and your participation, whatever platform you're watching on. So I wanted to start with a quote. It's actually from Martin Luther King, and I'll be reading some notes that I've written here. It's a lesser known quote. Actually, it's from my book, Never Doubt Your Value, You're More Than Enough, on Amazon. And the quote reads, I am convinced that the universe is under the control of a loving purpose, and that in the struggle for righteousness, man has cosmic companionship. Again, that's from Martin Luther King Jr., and it states, I am convinced that the universe is under the control of a loving purpose, and that in the struggle for righteousness, man has cosmic companionship. You have companionship, and you have an agreement in the universe, from what he says, with the fact that you are loved and you are righteous. And remember that at all times. Never forget that fact. So the only fight that you should ever fight, essentially, is knowing that you're righteous at all times. That's the only fight that you should ever fight. And hopefully at the end of this video, we'll, talk about a few ways and a few scenarios that we should be reminded of that. So I'll read from my book again, Never Doubt Your Value, You're More Than Enough. 1 Timothy 6:12 reads, to fight the good fight of faith. And under that, this is in chapter 5, I write, the only fight of faith that you will ever have to fight is believing that at all times and in all circumstances that you are righteous. And we've been programmed because of things that occur in our lives. If we lose a job, or we have a health condition, or we have financial issues, or maybe issues with our children, and other situations, to believe that we've done something wrong. And in those particular instances, we are not righteous. I remember even speaking with a woman, it was a number of years ago, she had battled breast cancer, and she said she was ashamed when she had her diagnosis. She didn't feel righteous. She didn't feel justified. So I want to kind of dig into that. And in my other book, 365 Days of Grace, I write on the first day of the year, January 1st, in that first devotional, that the hardest thing we'll ever do is rest. The hardest thing you will ever do, or will ever do, is rest. So we have to rest in who we are. We have to rest knowing that everything has been provided for us. Everything is inside of us. All things are ours. The kingdom is within us. And that as we understand who we are, those things will manifest, or we'll experience them, and they'll be made available to us. So we have to realize that, number one, and I wrote a few things here, actually 4 points. Mistakes don't define us. Often we don't believe that we're righteous because we've made a mistake. It could be, it could be a number of things. And often when we make those mistakes, we may feel shame, we may feel guilt, and consequently, we don't feel righteous because maybe we've offended someone in the course of making that mistake, and they tell us, essentially, maybe explicitly, or they imply that we're not a good person. So we internalize that sense of unrighteousness. So number one, this year, I want us to remember that mistakes don't define us. I don't care what mistakes we've made. I don't care if those mistakes were a minute ago or 20 years ago. Those mistakes do not define us. Number two, situations, like I said, health or financial challenges don't define us. That doesn't make us unrighteous. And like I spoke about the young woman that had breast cancer, or if you are experiencing or have experienced financial lack, that does not mean that you are not righteous. It does not mean that you are unworthy. So, situations, the station or stature that we find ourselves in life, if we're looked down upon because we don't have, the career title or the degrees we're looked down upon by other people, those things do not define us. All that we need has been planted on the inside of us and deposited on the inside of us. So situations, health, or financial issues don't define you. Number three, rejection does not define you. I know a lot of people struggle with this, not just from their past, maybe childhood years, but in romantic relationships when they've been rejected by someone, they feel like that defines them. In fact, CSP, Christian Suicide Prevention, the hotline that had many volunteers throughout the nation that I founded for many years, we would hear stories about people feeling unrighteous or unworthy because they have been rejected in a romantic relationship. And actually, that was the reason why I founded that hotline, is because I had been made aware of an individual that I worked with years ago that had committed suicide because of being rejected in a romantic relationship. Someone that I went to school with years ago, it was said, killed themselves because of being rejected in a romantic relationship. So, and just, I had spoken with people over the years where this was an issue. We have to realize that rejection of any sort does not define us. Our validation and affirmation should never come from anyone externally, but it always has to come from who we are and what's been deposited on the inside of us. So rejection doesn't define you or make you unrighteous. And finally, past struggles don't define you. Past struggles, like I said, your upbringing, maybe you were talked down upon, growing up. Maybe someone said that you would never amount to anything, or you would always, struggle like your dad or like your mom, or you wouldn't rise above the neighborhood that you grew up in. So past struggles don't define you, your upbringing. In fact, I write here to change our story. It encourage us all to change our story this year. Aaron Dowdy on YouTube, he's a well-known YouTuber, often says life is about the stories that we tell ourselves. Our life, what we experience, I'm not good enough. I could never start that business. I could never be in a great relationship. That's what life is about. Or I am good enough. I can start a business. I can be successful. I can be in that relationship, in a great relationship. Life is all about the stories that we tell ourselves. And we can change our story this year. In my book, again, Never Doubt Your Value, You Are More Than Enough, I write about a pastor that talks about how him and his wife had problems early in their marriage. And they began to change their story and say, even though they had met years after high school, they changed their story and said, we met as high school sweethearts. Some people would say that was fabricating, or, that they, were fabricating their story, but they literally did it to change their stories, to say that they were high school sweethearts, that they had always been in love. And it actually changed the course of their marriage. So we have to change our stories. Guard your heart. Guard your heart from those negative emotions, those past emotions, because feelings flow out of our heart. And it's clear in Proverbs, 23:7, that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. As those feelings, if we continue to practice those same old feelings or negative feelings from the same old story, we will continue to have the same old results. And we definitely want to experience and manifest new things, those great things that have been in our heart and deposited on the inside of us in our lives this year. So thank you guys. I'm always so encouraged by your comments, and other people are as well. Thank you for sharing this video. Thank you for your insight in terms of how you remained righteous in a situation that may have included a mistake, a health or financial challenge, rejection, or a past struggle. Thank you for sharing those stories. Thank you for your insight. Feel free to look below this video to see how you can get involved with some of the things that are going on this year here. And I look forward to talking to you guys soon. Thank you so much. Have a great one.